Jurassic World Rebirth has become the biggest movie of the summer season, and with the movie now getting talks of an inevitable sequel, and the fact that a ton of new Jurassic Park related projects are apparently already entering into development, I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that the next movie definitely needs to avoid. And by the way, this is not just my opinion, but it's actually shared by the guy that puts his name on all of this stuff, Steven Spielberg. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now, for today's video, I want to just talk to you guys about the biggest problem with Jurassic World Rebirth, in my opinion. Now look, if you ask me, the movie was actually a step above what we last saw in Jurassic World Dominion, and I'd even go as far as saying that Gareth Edwards directed some really well done dinosaur scenes, some of the best stuff we've seen, honestly, in any of these films. But if there's one thing he did that I think the majority of people really did not like, and I think this is the worst aspect of the movie myself, it's the forced replication of older scenes from previous movies. This is probably the most egregious towards the end of the film in the third act, when the Mutodon starts to attack the family inside of the convenience store. I mean, most of this scene is pretty much ripped off from the original Jurassic Park. And yeah, I know this isn't the only time the series has done this before, but come on, this time was kind of for no reason at all. And Steven Spielberg himself, alongside writer David Koepp, by the way, they actually told Gareth Edwards, hey, like, stop, please. And look, Gareth Edwards stated all of what I'm about to say himself, so it's not just hearsay, but it's coming from the guy that actually did it. He's the one that directed the movie. So look, what happened behind the scenes was Steven Spielberg pushing for Jurassic World Rebirth to get rid of all the callback stuff, because they were self-referential, and he's the one that actually made the original Jurassic Park, so to him, he just kind of hates it. So he basically told Gareth Edwards, quote, "By the way, take out all the nods and references to all the previous Spielberg films and Jurassic Park Easter eggs." Now, Gareth Edwards was of the opinion that it really wasn't that big of a deal, and he tried to salvage as many of them as he could, saying that in the final cut, he felt like they struck the right balance, but I don't personally think some of that stuff needed to be there, like, at all, particularly with the whole Mutodon sequence towards the end. You know, the stuff with the Titanosaurus, where Dr. Henry Loomis actually reaches out and touches the animal when they're getting DNA, I don't mind that at all, because it's different enough and it does feel more like a sequel, whereas the Mutodon stuff reminded me of the Star Wars sequel stuff, where they would replicate scenes from the original trilogy and you're like, okay, could you not think of a different way to shoot the scene at the very least? I want these movies to improve. I just think you gotta actually tell them when they're messing up, or they're gonna continue to have these problems in the future. Now, there's also a conversation we need to talk about with an alternate opening that was apparently supposed to mimic the beginning of the original Jurassic Park movie they cut out of this one. It had trees moving where you think you're about to see a dinosaur, only to reveal something else. And to be fair, that's actually what I think the opening does already in Jurassic World Rebirth to some extent. And if I'm honest, I kind of don't have a problem with the monkeys in the trees at the beginning of the film at all, but after they cut that stuff and rearranged everything for the finished film, apparently someone told Gareth to put the scenes back into Jurassic World Rebirth, because the movie as a whole, after they made the cuts, was, quote, too short, which is a little hilarious, to tell you the truth. Now, believe it or not, even with all of that going on, there was still going to be additional stuff, like way more of it actually, with Mr. DNA even being involved at one point in Jurassic World Rebirth. I have no idea how or why, but you know, building up to this movie, we heard a lot of people talk about this thing trying to distance itself and stand out from the other films, which is one of the reasons why I think that if they had just changed some of this stuff here and there, it would have been received better critically than it ultimately has. I mean, just look, I want you guys to imagine how different the movie would feel in those scenes if they were framed differently, had a little bit more of a different composition to their shots, or just had dinosaur behavior in them that wasn't so spot on to what we'd seen before, especially to what we've seen in the original Jurassic Park. Now, I know that Jurassic World Rebirth had an extremely tight shooting schedule, and they really pushed this thing out as fast as they possibly could, but I don't want to make any excuses for these callbacks, because quite honestly, I really don't want to see them make a return in a future sequel at all. Now, of course, some of the writing in this movie wasn't the greatest either, but comparably to the other films, I don't really want to say that it's the worst I've ever seen. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Jurassic World Dominion, but...
Do you two talk a lot?
He slid into my DMs.
look, when it comes to the overall writing on display in the finished movie, we see that David Koepp basically reused a ton of older material that was unused from both Jurassic Park and The Lost World. I may actually make a separate video about this entirely in the future, but when it comes to critiquing this particular movie right now, I want to say that as a Jurassic Park fan, I've read a lot of that older material, and it's been online for a very long time. Scenes like the river raft chase, the Titanosaurus encounter, which originally was supposed to be a Seismosaurus, and even the idea for the messed up monster creature, the Mutodon with the Super Raptor, or even the Distortus Rex being some sort of precursor to the Indominus, all of those ideas are from older drafts of Jurassic Parks 1 and 2, and maybe even some stuff from Chaos Effect, the unused TV show slash toy line from the late 90s. Now, this for the most part worked well in terms of the action sequences, but you can see some problems start to arise in relation to specifics of characters. Probably the most obvious is a part of the movie where Ruben Delgado, the father character in the movie, has a limp and a messed up leg, only to somehow get way better as the movie progresses in a very short span of time. In my opinion, this looks like this is because sections of Jurassic World Rebirth script are actually lifted directly from the scripts of The Lost World or Jurassic Park, where Ian Malcolm injures his leg and is unable to move for a little while. In fact, in the actual movie The Lost World, there's a scene where Ian Malcolm's group falls down a ravine, and this causes Dr. Malcolm's leg issues from the previous movie to flare back up, because of the injury he sustained from the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. He falls down the ravine and is like, oh, my leg, and that's what makes Nick Van Owen run ahead to the operations building. Now, in Jurassic World Rebirth, we see the Delgado family fall down a giant ravine right before getting dumped out in front of the river raft sequence with a sleeping Tyrannosaurus. Now, I actually like the fact that they repurposed a lot of cool ideas from Jurassic Park and the Lost World screenplays, but they really do, and I mean they really do, need to and should have gone over some of these scenes with a little more scrutiny, because logistically, I don't think it really makes sense at some parts of the film. Ruben Delgado's limp does seem to be Ian Malcolm's limp from The Lost World, only kind of taken out of order, and when he falls down the ravine, it really does just look like it's a scene from The Lost World Jurassic Park. I do want to say that this movie could have been better. Maybe if they'd given it a little more time, it could have at least achieved something like a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes. So God willing, he stays on for the next one, and God willing, he takes it upon himself to kind of get a better reception with the next Jurassic Park writing. If not for his sake alone, for just the added challenge of boosting Jurassic Park's sequel reputation online. And that is a daunting task. So, speaking of which, the Jurassic Park series as a whole, it's honestly one of the most interesting when it comes to critical reception. I mean, take the last 4 films alone. Jurassic World looks like it was enjoyed by the majority of everyone. Fallen Kingdom's reception was way more negative, but Dominion somehow, and I have no idea how this happened, pulled a big win on the audience front for Rotten Tomatoes, even though critics hated it. I really didn't like that movie as well, but with Jurassic World Rebirth, and even though the critic score ended up being at like 50%, the audience pulled away in the 70s, which is kind of where I sit. I mean, think about it. That's like 3 of the 4 Jurassic World movies somehow have positive audience receptions despite all the bad press that you see around them on the internet. I even found that kind of hard to believe myself. But I will say that if they got rid of these callbacks in Jurassic World Rebirth, the film would at least feel less cheap, I guess, in those scenes. And yeah, I'm gonna say cheap because I think, look, I just want this franchise to improve and get better and not rest on its laurels and pretend like they could just make another movie and it will do massive at the box office. Yes, you did make a lot of money. Yes, people do think you're an improvement over Jurassic World Dominion and Fallen Kingdom. But come on, you can be even better than that. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, what do all of you guys think? Do you think what I've labeled is the biggest problem with Jurassic World Rebirth, or do you think it's something else? You've heard it from me. I think that these callbacks have to stop. If there's something else that is bigger than that, like the writing, I totally understand. But hey, whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be on this subject matter, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video. And as always, take it easy.